Hello, this is Jesse from the future sharing a brief message from our sponsor, Anchor by Spotify. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or phone. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need all in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. You don't even have to pay for stuff. That's the best part about things that are free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And now, back to the show.
Before we start the show, we want to ask you, the Disconnected family, to please share the show on social media and invite friends and family to listen. Enable the notification bell so you never miss an episode, and please rate us with 5 stars wherever you're listening to us right now to keep this awesome show going. Might as well do it right now, that's fresh on your mind, right? We thank you and appreciate you. Enjoy the show.
May not be suitable for younger listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back, Disconnected family, to another edition of the Disconnected podcast. As always, I am your host, Angel.
And I am your host, Jesse.
And today's episode is brought to you by the quote of the day. Remember, when you are dead, you do not know you are dead. It is only painful for others. The same applies when you're stupid.
So, moral of the story, don't be dead or stupid or both.
So welcome back. Hi, Jesse. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Pretty good.
am.
You just wake up. I told you this like a couple minutes ago. You wake up and you're just like, I have all the energy in the world today for some reason. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. So I started running yesterday.
Ooh.
And I feel with more energy.
Nice.
Yeah, my legs. I can't feel my legs, but I'm doing good.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So
today we're going to be talking about a very interesting story filled with mystery and uncertainty. Ooh. We will be discussing about the 9 Russian Soviet hikers who mysteriously froze to death while trekking in the Ural Mountains in what's known as the Dyatlov Pass incident.
In Russia.
In Russia, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Something or someone made them cut their way out of their tents in the middle of the night and run for their lives, unprepared for the freezing temperatures. When their bodies were discovered, their injuries were inconsistent, and the reason for their frantic escape on that fateful February night remains a mystery to this day. What happened to the hikers at the Dyatlov Pass? There are countless conspiracy theories, from aliens being involved to a Yeti attack, and the one that I personally find the most interesting is the theory that the members of the Dyatlov Pass were not simply hikers. They had been sent to the mountain pass on a special mission organized by the KGB, aka the secret police in Russia. If any of these pique your interest, then you are in the right place, my friend. I hope you enjoy the show.
Wow.
Yes.
That's very mysterious.
It is very mysterious.
Very suspenseful.
Because it might make sense that it was a freak accident, but it also doesn't make sense that it was a freak accident. And we'll get into that.
Yeah, it was very weird.
Yes.
So, on February 2nd, 1959, 9 amateur ski hikers camped in the Ural Mountains. It's a mountain range that runs approximately from north to south through western Russia. That was the last time anyone heard from them. After several months of searching, investigators found lifeless bodies of all 9 hikers under strange circumstances. It was officially declared that they died from a quote-unquote powerful unknown force.
Okay, KGB.
And the investigation documents were kept secret until the 1990s. What really happened and
Why hide it?
why were they marked as classified?
Yeah. It's an accident in the mountains.
Yeah. But I guess not,
No.
because the case was archived as a classified and they closed the case.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's
So-
not suspicious.
No, not at all. Known as the Dyatlov Pass incident, named after the leader of the expedition, Igor Dyatlov, we are facing an authentic X-file with all the ingredients to give free rein to the imagination. In fact, what happened on those dates has given rise to all sorts of theories. The summary of the investigation appealing to these unknown forces was kept in the strictest secrecy until several decades later. When the investigation papers were made public, it was discovered that many pages were missing from it.
Okay. So, apart from it being archived, there's just information that's missing from it
Yeah.
for some reason.
Why?
You know, when it's like super classified government information where it's like a bunch of stuff is redacted? It's like, this is what happened. All of it's redacted. Anyway. So, it's very suspicious.
So here's what happened. The expedition began on January 25th, 1959, in an area between the Komi Republic and the Sverdlovsk Oblast. None of them were more than 25 years old except for Sasha, one of the guides who was 37. He mysteriously joined the group at the last minute because the plan to go with the group he was supposed to go with did not go through.
Okay, Sasha. I'm just suspicious of everyone. Okay, you.
Okay, you. Other members found him eerie and suspicious, but eventually accepted him. He had tattoos. Some were just letters that didn't mean anything in any language, but he said that he was an experienced hiker and knew his way through the trail. There were 8 men and 2 women, students in the Eurostate Technical University, whose leader was named Igor Dyatlov, who was 23 years old.
So they were all relatively young.
Yes, no more than 25 years old. The only one, the oldest one was Sasha.
And he was 37.
So whom he just mysteriously joined the group.
He's like, oh wait, guys, I don't have any other intentions other than to hike with you. This is not a lie.
The objective of the expedition was to reach Otorten Mountain in 16 days.
Okay.
That it was a route that on the dates chosen in the months of February was Category 3, which was the most complicated and difficult because of the weather. Everyone knew this was a dangerous journey, especially Igor, but it wasn't the first time for the group who had experience in similar routes. The entire team arrives on January 25th by train to the city of Ibdel, a territory located in the center of the northern province of Sverdlovsk.
No, Russian names, dude.
Yeah.
Sverdlovsk.
Sverdlovsk.
This one place in Russia. This northern province in Russia. There you go.
So from there, they left for Visay in a vehicle to begin to march to Otorten the next day on January 27. At this time, one of the members, Yuri, decides to leave the group and return to civilization due to illness.
Okay.
So he got sick and he's like, you know what, guys, I'm not going to make it. I'm just going to go back. So
Okay.
this is how the group of 9 people start the Great Walk. The next day, they start hiking their way up. According to their journals, for the first couple of days, it seemed that the expedition was going just as planned. Everything was in their favor. The weather was perfect. The trail was visible. What could possibly go wrong, they thought.
Yeah.
On their way up, they saw markings on trees, or symbols made by the local indigenous hunters, the Mansi. But none of the hikers knew what these symbols meant, so they ignored them and kept on their way.
It was probably a warning.
Maybe.
Or it was just,
Well, since it was a the Mansi, that was like their territory. They used to hunt there, so maybe
It was like marking, like, okay, this is where we have been. Sometimes they do it to like mark their steps or to mark like where they're.
so they don't get lost. Maybe
Yeah.
like okay, we've been through this tree because it's marked.
Yeah,
Okay.
because when it's like all snowed, it looks the same. Everything looks the same.
Everything's
so.
white, so they have to mark certain places of the forest to not get lost or just.
Which is actually really smart. It's
is.
really impressive to like be able to navigate your way through nature. I'll see like I would mark a tree and come back and not find it.
Yeah, I know. Did I mark this tree?
You're like, was this me?
So at this point in the story, and according to the official version, the hikers would have left diaries and cameras in the last camp prior to the scene of the incident. Igor was very determined, very well prepared, and had everything ready for an adventure of a lifetime. So by January 28th, the experienced hikers had traveled for many miles. They were tired and hungry. The sun was starting to die down, so they decided to set up camp right there and continue the journey the next day. They set up a big 13-foot tent designed by Igor that would fit all 9 adventurers with no problem. They even had a little bonfire inside the tent, so they were very well prepared. They had everything planned, so
they were experienced. They knew what they were doing.
Exactly. So they fixed dinner. They were talking and singing while passing the mandolin, which is like a little, like a kind of like a ukulele. But
it's like a little like lute.
Yeah.
Like tiny.
So yeah, they were having the time of their lives. They were very happy that everything was going just as planned. They were very happy. They were having fun, you know.
Yeah, they were.
They didn't thought any of it.
This was fun for them.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
like, we're going on vacation. I'm going to go hike a mountain.
Yeah, and it wasn't their first time, so they felt very confident of the territory of what they were doing.
Yeah.
So they seemed to be enjoying every second of it, according to their journal entries and photos, until 2 days later, when the weather suddenly takes a turn for the worst. Strong winds, 0 below temperatures, and worst of all, it starts to snow. And for the people who have experienced hiking, when it starts to snow, it's a little bit complicated because you can't see the trail.
Yeah, because it starts getting covered up.
Yeah, so the Mansi Trail disappears due to the heavy snow. They can barely see 1 foot in front of them. They're all exhausted and are forced to stop and set up camp. One of the girls, Lyudmila, refuses to help the others with the chores and just sits in front of the fire.
Ugh, people like her are the worst.
I know. I mean, so they had a rule that they had to complete chores first before they could relax. Someone had to sew up a hole that was on the side of the tent because it had ripped before, like on the past days. There was a hole, so someone had to sew it up. And it had been a long day, and everyone was worked up. Everyone was tired.
Frustrated.
So, yeah, so the last thing you want to do is do something like do chores or sew up the hole on the side of the tent. They just wanted to relax. And but Lyudmila, on the other hand, she was very like she was being a jerk about it.
Yeah, if it's based like, okay, I get you're tired, but also this is your survival.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if I'm tired. If it's gonna help me survive the night, I'm gonna do it.
And then if you're hiking, if you're doing that adventure, you're gonna expect being tired and being exhausted, out of energy. And come on, like, really?
This isn't a simple walk like to your grocery store.
No, exactly. This is not a walk in the park. Come on, it's an extreme adventure.
Yeah.
So
suck it up.
Yeah. So one of the members, Nick, he starts to argue with Lyudmila about not helping, and things start to get heated. Nick refuses to sew the hole in the tent, and Lyudmila ignores him. She's exhausted. Everyone is. So eventually, one of the members, they're like, you know what? Whatever. He gets to work and sews the hole on the side of the tent.
Okay.
The next morning, things kind of cooled off between them, but the weather, however, got worse. They started their journey again despite the atrocious temperature and snowfall. The team leaves for the opposite side of the mountain. The weather worsens, it snows, and makes it increasingly difficult to see the area. Hikers get lost and wander west, reaching the upper face of Kalat Jakal.
That's a yes.
Yeah, so it's which means mountain of death in the language of the indigenous Mansi people.
Okay.
the Mountain of Death. Come on, like, spoiler alert.
Yeah, but also it's very, like, obviously if you see a mountain and it's extremely scary and a lot of people have died there, you're gonna call it the Mountain of Death. It makes sense.
Yeah. The team began to make their way through the then unnamed pass leading to Otorten.
Okay.
The winds were so strong that Eager described them in the journal as similar to a jet blast from an airplane taking off.
Oh.
So they were very strong winds.
Yeah.
Due to the snow and wind, they would only advance 1 mile every hour throughout the whole day. That's how bad the situation was.
They could barely walk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they were very determined and tried to keep going. By 4 p.m., they had no choice but to settle in and wait for the weather to be in their favor again. And that's where their journals stop.
Mm-hmm.
There are no more records of their expedition, except for photos. The only difference between these photos to the ones before, when they were happy and dancing and, you know, having a good time, these looked very ominous and even apocalyptic.
It's like someone trying to capture an incident, but they were unable to.
Mm-hmm. You can barely see the hikers. They were in total whiteout conditions, like on the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Like someone took pictures, but it's all white. You can barely see them. You see like just black like shapes.
Oh, I saw a picture where it's like it's all black, but there's a streak of white on this on the left side, like lights. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, I'm actually going to talk about this. Look.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I went ahead of you.
One photo in particular seemed odd. It was blurry, but in the lower part of the frame, you can notice a white light against the black background.
Yeah.
Let's have in mind that the camera was found inside the tent in a tripod, so it was sitting still at the time the picture was taken. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just a flaw in the photo or an error developing the photo in the dark room. Whatever it was, to explain the motion blur, the light might have been moving when it was taken. Mm-hmm. Either way, either someone was waving a flashlight while the photo was taken, or a moving object swaying in the darkness of the night sky. Dyatlov, the leader of the group, agreed to send a telegram to the sports club they belonged to once they returned to Visay. According to his calculations, this would be February 12 at the latest. Several days after that date, on February 12, the hikers' relatives start to worry and sound the alarm, and the search for the hikers officially begins, with several rescue groups made up of volunteers. Army and police officers later joined, with planes and helicopters.
Okay.
They were getting worried. They didn't get the telegram Dyatlov was supposed to send, and they no signs of the hikers whatsoever.
Yeah.
On February 26th, the first signs of human life were found. They discovered an abandoned camp at Kholat Jakhl. The condition of the camp was a ruined tent that Mikhail Sharavin of the rescue team recounted. Quote, "It was half knocked down and covered in snow. It was also empty, and all the belongings and shoes of the group were missing." End quote. Investigators said the tent had signs that it had been cut or torn from the inside, as if someone wanted to open it quickly.
Oh.
They found a series of 8 or 9 pairs of footprints leading to a nearby forest, at which point the snow-covered footprints were lost.
Okay, so they rushed out of the tent.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when they found the footprints, they were barefoot.
Gone. Oh, they were barefoot.
Yeah, so something or someone
got them out
quickly.
Yes.
So there they find next to a tree what appeared to be the remains of a bonfire and the first 2 corpses, both with only their underwear and bare feet.
Okay.
They find traces of blood on the tree, which is why it is determined that both hikers had tried to climb the tree.
Okay. So they were running from an avalanche, or they were running from something that was chasing them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a wild creature, or
a big animal,
or some human,
or something. Interesting.
The search continues, and they find 3 other bodies in the same area within a space of no more than 600 meters from the tree.
Okay.
One of them is the leader Dyatlov, with a branch in one hand and in a posture that indicates that he is defending or protecting himself from someone or something.
It's like, okay, so it probably wasn't an avalanche because you don't try to hit the snow if it's coming to you.
No.
Like, stay back.
So that's like red flags right there.
Yes, it is.
So nearby, a search dog sniffed out the remains of Zina Kolmogorova under 4 inches of snow, and then that of Rostem Slobodin. The bodies were in a line 200 yards apart, as if they had been trying to crawl behind each other back up to the shelter of the tent, but never made it.
Okay.
The final bodies were not found until the snow melted 2 months later in a ravine, with fractured skulls and chest injuries. The tongue and eyes of Lyudmila Dubinina and Semen Soloratev were missing.
Okay.
Like, what the hell?
Like,
that
okay.
is not an avalanche.
That is definitely not an avalanche because you don't try to hit it and it doesn't take your eyes and tongue out.
No.
What?
The investigation detailed Lyudmila's body with a strange orange body tone. A leading Russian doctor claimed Semen's injuries were likely the result of a big creature.
Yeah. Quote unquote, big creature.
So, they were discovered under 15 feet of snow in a den they had desperately hollowed out for themselves before succumbing to the cold. The hypothesis suggests that the 3 were trying to get back to the tent.
Okay.
Why? We don't know.
We don't know.
So 2 months passed before they found the other 4 hikers. On May 4, they conclude the search when they find the bodies. They had been buried under the snow inside the forest. All 4 were dressed, although in clothes that belonged to other corpses. Maybe they put on those clothes to shelter them from the cold because it was negative 15 Fahrenheit.
Yes.
They also found a camera around the neck of one of the hikers, although the official investigation concluded that the camera's film had been damaged, although some photos were rescued.
Okay.
Now, after finding the last 4 bodies, the investigation is open to find the causes of death. So here is what they found in the search efforts.
Okay.
First of all, the 8 bodies of the hikers, all at a distance of no more than 600 meters, some without clothes, others half-dressed or with the clothes of others, at temperatures estimated between negative 15 and negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So
Okay.
it was freaking cold.
So it was, yeah. It was
Like-
just freezing.
Yeah.
Unbearably.
Most likely that's from hypothermia, although many
Yeah.
with injuries, but
Weird injuries.
very weird. An empty and apparently torn tent, 8 or 9 pairs of footprints that lead them to the corpses,
Okay.
and a bad camera. So that's what they found during the
It's
investigation.
weird that you mentioned 8 or 9 pairs because there were only 8 hikers, right? Or 9 hikers.
There were 9 hikers.
So they only found 8 bodies?
Mm,
They didn't find everybody?
that's a good point.
That's weird. I don't know if that was just like bad math or if it's like weird that they either found too many footprints or not enough bodies,
Mm-hmm.
which is weird.
Wow, it is.
You didn't even notice that when you were
I know, I was
reading
like,
it?
Wow.
Yeah, it's like noticing like 8 or 9 pairs, but there's only 8 bodies? What? So did someone had a couple extra pair of legs or there was a body not found?
There was an extra set of footprints. They don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So in summary, this is what happened according to the results of the investigation.
Okay.
Sometime before nightfall on February 1st, 1959, the cross-country hikers had made a simple camp. Just one tent into which they all crammed side by side to sleep. We know this timeline because investigators recovered the group's cameras and found an image of the pitched tent in daylight. We also know that the group evacuated quickly at night, as evidenced by the cut in the tent, perhaps done frantically.
Mm-hmm.
If people trapped inside couldn't breathe, and the fact that the rescue team also recovered lanterns near the shelter.
Okay.
As for the campers' time of death, researchers have a few lines of evidence. Without body heat to keep it warm, in such cold weather, estimated to be negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit, Based on readings from the closest weather stations, a person's watch stops ticking about an hour after their death. 3 of the adventurers' watches stopped between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m., and another stopped at 5:31 a.m. The temperature also determines the maximum survival time for an exposed human being wearing little clothing. In this case, the window should have been 2 to 3 hours. Lastly, the victim's stomach contents showed it had been 6 to 8 hours since their last meals. Putting this all together, the hikers pitched camp before nightfall, likely fled between 1:30 a.m. and 5:30 a.m.
Okay.
And perished between 4:30 a.m. and 7:30.
Okay, so there's about 4 hours there in between all those times where they just don't know what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot can happen between 4 hours.
Yeah, so it's just very, very mysterious.
Yeah.
So, thus begins the judicial investigation of the case, where it is concluded that the first bodies had died of hypothermia. However, the 4 bodies found in May changed many of the preconceived ideas in the investigation.
Because they found them, like, months later.
Yeah, because they were buried, like...
in snow, so they had to wait for the snow to
melt. So, examination carried out by Dr. Boris Vrozhdeny found that 3 of them had fatal injuries. Okay. 1 had significant damage to the skull. 1 of the girls was missing ribs, her tongue, and she had a fractured neck, in addition to high levels of radioactivity in her clothing.
That's the weird part to me.
Yeah.
The radioactivity. You're hiking in a remote mountain, and there's radioactivity in your body, around your body?
Maybe there was an explosion due to aliens?
Maybe it was an explosion between KGB and CIA agents? Because radioactivity is related to nuclear stuff, so...
There you go. The 3rd was found to have fractures in his chest and was missing some teeth.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense, because if you fall or you hit yourself, you can lose teeth.
But not the missing ribs one.
No, the missing ribs one is still like... What? How?
Yeah. In general, they had fatal injuries, although with a slight nuance. They were mostly internal injuries, and in any case, it didn't seem that there had been any type of fight or physical struggle.
Okay, so they didn't fight back.
No. So maybe they caught him by surprise, or
they just didn't know what to do. They couldn't see.
Something way bigger and powerful than them.
Yeah, you can't fight something that's gonna toss you across the forest.
Yeah. So when their bodies were found in the coming weeks, their strange and gruesome injuries left investigators baffled and repulsed.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, evidence shows that some hikers were struck by a force comparable to that of a speeding car, but no one could make sense out of it.
Maybe someone got lost in traffic and they showed up and they're like, I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah, on a mountain.
Yes.
Thus, one arrives at one of the most unusual verdicts of how many are remembered. The official investigation concludes that all members of the group were killed by a powerful unknown force. Not only that, the case was archived as classified and kept in the utmost secrecy until the 1990s.
Okay.
When it became available again, and surprise, pages of the investigation were missing. Why?
Are you trying to hide something?
Many locals and myself included find that very suspicious. What was the government hiding?
Exactly.
You know?
Why not share it all with us?
Exactly.
If it's
if
normal.
You don't have anything to hide, and if it was just like a causes of death, hypothermia, why were you acting all suspicious about it?
Yeah.
So this is basically the same as opening the doors wide to a mystery and conspiracy. Pseudo-theories and folklore of the history of humanity come together and form the greatest of urban legends. Since then, there have been so many theories and versions of supposed studies that it becomes difficult to separate reality from pure fantasy. Now, let's jump into some of the most bizarre and fascinating theories.
So jumping into some of the conspiracies, I'm going to go over a couple that were recently exposed in 2021. Very recent.
Really?
Yes. So this is investigations that scientists actually made to explain, I'm putting this in quotes, explain what happened so people start theorizing. I think they're possible, and I think they're just doing it to cover something up.
Okay.
So this is like, they did scientific investigations. So the first one is being a delayed slab avalanche. So the hikers dug a platform into the slope of the mountain, and they do this to protect themselves from winds, so they don't get cold.
Okay.
Combined that platform with the strong downslope winds that had accumulated snow above the tent, it caused a deadly avalanche. And it occurs in places even when avalanches aren't possible or aren't common.
Okay.
And it causes similar injuries to what was found on the hikers.
So they were doing tests to see if that was the cause of death of the hikers?
Yes, they were. It's mostly theories of like what could have happened and to explain what had killed the hikers. And they're like, okay, so there's this thing that happens, a delayed slab avalanche, that can occur anywhere.
Yeah.
And it injures people in fatal ways. So they're like, okay, makes sense that this could have been.
It could have been
the cause of death.
It's a possibility.
The other one is a katabatic wind. It's a powerful wind that travels down a mountain slope, picking up speed under the force of gravity. So it can become near hurricane level very suddenly. This is deadly, because hurricanes are deadly.
Yeah.
It could explain why the hikers abandoned their tent, since it was probably ripped apart.
It wasn't. I mean, it was ripped apart. Yeah, I get it.
It collapsed.
The tent didn't collapse.
It wasn't like half collapsed. Like half of it was like covered in snow.
No.
So the internal injuries could have been caused by the snow shelter collapsing on them. So maybe they got injured, and then they ran away. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense, does it?
No, that theory doesn't make sense.
Right? These two theories that they're like, okay, this is officially what happened.
Oh, so it's official?
Like it's pretty official.
Yeah.
It's all over. I was looking up theories, and it's the first like 5 pages of Google. The theories that I found, I had to go through like the 10. You know when you scroll down and there's like the numbered searches? You never go to the second page, do you? You just stay on the first one. I had to go to like the 8th page to find some of these theories.
Wow. Even Google.
Even Google
is acting suspicious.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so now we're going into some of the theories that are actually a little bit more unofficial. I put it in quotes because they could be real. The first one being secret weapons experiments. So Anatoly Gushchin in The Prize of State Secrets is 9 Lives, so the 9 hikers, claimed the investigating team had seen flying spheres. So these were secret weapons that the Russian government or the USSR was testing out. Around the bodies, there was a high level of radioactive contamination. It might have been to radioactive thorium that was found in like the wicks of their lamps, but the reports were never clear, and they were never specific about where the source of the radiation came from.
Ooh.
So they could have just written on the report, "Oh, it's from lamps," but they never specified. Yeah.
So it was a secret weapons experiment.
Yeah, they were probably testing out. Oh, it says here. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead. Rumors that the Soviets had been testing parachute mines in the area, which could explain the students' injuries. So they were literally testing radioactive
mines
near where people hike.
Okay. I don't think that theory is believable, because how would you explain their eyes being
exactly.
Like they didn't have eyes, they didn't have tongues.
It explains the radioactivity near them.
It does, but not on all bodies. It was just on one body.
It was just on
Lyudmila, on her body. But
interesting.
Yeah, maybe she got close
to something that she wasn't supposed to get close to while she was running away.
And they didn't want her to say anything, and cut her tongue.
Yeah. Anyway, that's one of the theories. I don't know. It doesn't really convince me.
No.
It could have been something else. The next one is being infrasound. This theory was brought up by an American filmmaker, Donnie Akar, in Dead Mountain, the untold story of the Dyatlov Pass incident. And infrasound is a naturally occurring phenomenon where wind striking mountains can produce low-frequency hum. And this frequency induces powerful feelings of nausea, panic, dread, chills, nervousness, and breathing difficulties. So the theory is that the students panicked because of the low-frequency hum and ran out into the snow and somehow tripped and died. Right? Like, the theories get there, but then they don't explain the rest.
How would you explain Dyatlov's, how Igor Dyatlov was found? He was found with he was holding a branch in one hand, and he was found in a defensive position.
Started seeing like hallucinations, and he's like, something's gonna attack me because of this infrasound, but then that doesn't explain how some people were missing eyes and tongues.
Yeah, and their chests were crushed.
Yeah, and the radioactivity.
That's one theory, but I don't like it.
Yeah,
I don't believe it.
So this Akar theorizes that perhaps they were freaked out by the infamous tales of the Zolotaya Baba. And do you know what that is?
The Yeti.
The Yeti. It translates literally to golden woman. I don't know why.
A female Yeti?
A female Yeti? Maybe the Yeti is a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, equality. So students could have been attacked by this creature, because remember, they were attacked by a big creature who was trying to protect its territory. It explains some of the injuries that some have described to have only been possible by this said big creature. And some people were like, maybe it was a bear, because brown bears are native to the area, but they would have been in hibernation.
Yeah. No, bears were not. No,
it wasn't a bear. Bears were asleep.
Yeah, they're hibernating.
Yeah, they're hibernating. They don't wake up. They prepared all spring and summer for this moment.
No, I believe this Yeti theory more than what you just said earlier.
About the infrasound and the secret weapons.
Yeah, because it makes sense that maybe a Yeti was the cause of their death, because their chest they were crushed, like I said earlier, and it's more believable.
It's more believable. There was Dyatlov was found in a defensive position.
Yeah.
So he could have tried to defend himself from this thing, and he couldn't, because it's way bigger than him. It can travel probably faster in the snow because it lives there. And
it would hide in the snow.
It can camouflage.
It can camouflage in the
snow. It's all
snow.
white.
Yeah, imagine just you can't see anything. It's snowing, snowfall falling.
It's dark.
It's windy, and then all of a sudden you just boom.
Yeah.
You know?
And you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, so that's
I believe that more than an avalanche or the katabatic wind.
That's the stupidest theory.
Yeah.
The avalanche, right.
Okay, dude. Oh, it was a strong wind. A strong wind took out my eyes. What? No. The other one being aliens. So this one was a little weird because a government investigator, Lev Ivanov, privately blamed UFOs. So someone directly involved with the investigation and who worked for the USSR said that he blamed UFOs for the incident. He claims that AP, oh god, this is the name, Kirilenko, member of the Soviet Congress, along with his advisor A.F. Ashtokin, forced Ivanov to take out any references to the unknown flying objects or other strange phenomena. So he wanted to put them straight into the report, and this Congress member and his advisor were like, no, you can't do that.
Why?
I don't know. We don't know. There were reports of strange lights seen around the mountain during the time of death that no one can explain. So people around the mountain.
Like orange lights.
Yeah, like lights in the sky.
That's possible.
It's possible,
It is
yes.
possible.
And Ivanov, in the early 60s, so a few years after this incident, filed several requests to gain access to the KGB archives.
Ooh.
So he was looking for something.
He knew something.
He knew something was up, and they didn't let him put it in the reports. And afterwards, he was looking up stuff in the KGB archives for some reason. He wanted answers, maybe.
Yeah.
So this is the one that was like, okay. All right, I see you, Ivanov. And I think this is my last theory. Yes, it is. The KGB agents. So this one is the one that was like, it had more evidence in it. I feel like it made more sense. So Alexei Rakitin, sorry, these are really weird Russian names, author of the book Dyatlov Pass, claims that Semyon Zolotaryov, Alexander Kolevatov, and Yuri, that is a longer one that I'm not going to say, and Yuri were KGB agents on a mission to uncover a cell of CIA agents. So this is, it came up, it was very popular because it was Cold War era. So it was very much America versus the USSR. So it makes sense why this was the big conspiracy theory. They were hired by the KGB to deliver fake proof of radioactive tainted clothes. So Semyon, a 37-year-old... Oh, this is Sasha.
Oh.
Yeah, Semyon Sasha.
So he had another name?
Yeah. I think just like
the first letters of his name?
Yeah, sometimes they get nicknames.
Okay.
So,
So the person that joined the group at the last minute...
Yeah, the 37-year-old man, he was an instructor at a different tour base and joined the group last minute. He had been a veteran with years of combatant experience who fought for the NKVD and bore an enigmatic tattoo with a weird word that I do not know how to say.
Dermoazuaya.
Yes, and until this day, the word remains untranslated into any known language. So no one, it's not Russian, it's not any of the Slavic languages around Russia.
Maybe it was like a hidden message for some document or I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I know because Dermoazuaya.
Yeah, that
does not
make any sense.
No.
So he was one of the main suspects that was involved with the KGB.
Yeah.
The other one being Alexander Kolevatov. He worked in Moscow as a laboratory assistant in a top-secret scientific facility, an unnamed atomic institute known as P.O. Box 3394. And the last one being Yuri, who worked in the most notorious P.O. Box 404/10, the plant Mayak in
Chelyabinsk.
Yes, 40, where a massive nuclear disaster happened, second only to the severity in Chernobyl.
These theories make more sense than the ones that we were talking about earlier.
Yes, it does. Because it's weird that all three of the hikers were involved directly in, like atomic projects.
Wow.
With nuclear weapons and...
But why were they killed if they were part of it?
Well, because
maybe they agreed to sacrifice themselves for something.
Maybe the theory is that they were supposed to meet with CIA agents. So the job was to deliver radioactive samples to this group of agents and to take pictures of the spy. So they were gonna double cross them. So they're like, okay, we're not KGB agents. We're gonna meet with you, CIA, and we're gonna give you samples of what the KGB is doing.
Okay.
And so the plan was to fool them and be like, we're not KGB, but they were. And so the CIA found out, and that's when they attacked.
When they attacked the hikers.
That's when they attacked the hikers, and the way to make it more convincing is to have other hikers be like, this is a normal hike.
So maybe that's why some hikers' eyes were missing and their tongue.
Yeah, maybe the CIA...
Maybe it was a message.
It was a message.
You saw something, and you shouldn't say anything about it.
You saw something, and now you can't talk about it ever again.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the theory that I think is most believable. They were KGB agents camouflaging themselves in a normal group of student hikers who didn't know anything about this mission. It went wrong. These CIA agents acted out, and they killed them.
I like that theory.
Yes.
more believable than the other ones.
Exactly.
Avalanche. Come on, KGB. Come on, Russia.
Yeah, you know what? Do better just all around, because you're really messing up recently.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Russia.
Do better.
Do better than that.
Russian government, do better.
That was a very interesting topic.
It was.
It was very. When I was reading about it, I was like, "Holy shit!" Like all the theories, all the possibilities that.
Yeah. At first, it makes sense it could be an avalanche, but then you start reading how the bodies were found.
Yeah.
And the injuries they sustained, and you're like,
No.
maybe it wasn't snow or wind
Or a bear.
or
Infrasound.
Mm-hmm.
It was more likely the KGB, the secret police, the CIA agents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's more believable. That's why the government was hiding it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they classified it as, or they are classified?
Yeah, it was classified, and then it wasn't.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Like,
Right?
almost 40 years. They closed the case, and 40 years later, in the 1990s, they were like, oh, so you know what?
Oh, guys, this happened.
Mm-hmm.
What about imagine the poor families who just wanted answers about what happened to their relatives, and they couldn't.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week for another episode. You can find all episodes of the Disconnected podcast for free on Spotify and everywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you like this show, follow us on Facebook and Instagram as the Disconnected Podcast.
Mm-hmm. So yes, be in tune for next week. That's not an announcement. This is a warning. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Beware of next week.
So, thank you for listening. This has been the Disconnected Podcast. I am your host, Angel.
And I'm your host, Jesse.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Goodbye.